Okay, so let us begin. It is on the three gunas, the modes of nature, which we are going to learn today. Sri Krishna is going to talk about it. Before that, let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda, the Manglacharan. Om Ajnana Timirandasya, Ananjana Shalakaya, Chakshurmetamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Sri Chaitanya Manabhishtam, Stapitamena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam, Shri Guru Vaishnavscha, Shri Rupam Sagarajatam, Sahagana Raghunathan Vittam Tam Sajivam, Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padan, Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatura Abhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitam Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Te Namane Shri Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatesha Tarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna. So let us start. So what did we see? A short recap in the chapter 13. It started off with, this is a new section we are in, isn't it? Jnana Yoga, where Krishna is giving us some more philosophy, how to get free from this material world, how to get disentangled. We are now entangled with the material world, right? So Arjuna starts off with a question about this material. So he says, what is Prakriti, what is Purusha, what is Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnanam, and Neyam. So it is like three sets. He talks, Krishna is answering the questions in sets of three. First, he answers the Kshetra, Kshetrajna, that is the field of activities and the knower of the field. Then he comes to Jnanam and Neyam. Then lastly, he talks about the Prakriti and Purusha, right? So what was the field of activities and the thing? This Sharira, this body is the field through which, where inside the body we have the two knowers, that is the soul and the super soul. So both are residing in the field, in the body, and through the body the soul is acting. It is manifest through the body. So that's how we have that analogy of the farmer and the land and the king. Whereas the farmer is the soul, king is the super soul, the body is the sharira, and how these activities are taken in the field of activities. And we saw the constitutes of the body also. There are 24 elements which we went through. Then process of knowledge, knowing about this, knowing about the three of them, the field of activities, everything is the knowledge. The process, how do you process of knowledge? If anything which can cultivate the 20 qualities, humility, pridelessness, and so many list 20 quantities, then that is the knowledge which finally culminates into devotional service to the Lord. Otherwise, any other knowledge which doesn't lead to bhakti, that is ignorance. And that, why do we need to know? The process is to about the liberation. Then object of knowledge is to know about the soul and to know about the super soul, more about the super soul, how he resides and how he pervades the whole thing. And he is the permitter and he is the witness to all our activities and he is the permitter and he is the owner. So this is, and how we got into this is by association with the Prakriti. Then How do we understand this? If you have this knowledge, vision of this knowledge, we'll be able to have a clarity about the three things, about the Prakriti, Kshetra, the soul, and the super soul. Okay. So now it starts with this, some more question. Not questions. It's actually Krishna is going to elaborate more about how. So we saw the soul, and it is born, and the soul is not like the body. The body has got gross element and the subtle element, whereas the soul is transcendental. So it is not the thing. Okay, it is just it has got a different constitution, right? It's not the, and it is eternal and is pure. But once, how did it come into the contact with the body, and why it is all repeatedly taking birth and death, birth and death? How is it happening? How is it getting caught into this, and what is happening, and what is it binding? How once it comes here, and how it gets bound into this material energy, into this material world. So that is what here Krishna is explaining and describing the liberation, how it gets conditioned, and how the description of the binding of the pure soul by the three modes. Actually, the Prakriti is described by three characteristics: mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So, and actually these modes are trying to dominate all the other. So that is what we see. And action of death within us. So more descriptions of this other characteristics, how it is born, what is the effect, and what is the destination, and how do we come out of that. So that's what is, and it's a very short chapter and very easy to understand. So let's start off with blessed Lord said, again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained to supreme. So the Lord says, so he's continuing from the last chapter about more of this material, this wisdom. And why he says is the supreme wisdom. Actually, in chapter 9, he said he is giving us the Rajya Vidya, the king of education. And it's the Uttama, the best. Again, in 10 also, he said this is best. Because knowing this, you'll be out of miseries, of the three miseries in this world. And it is good for you. But now again, he's saying this is a supreme wisdom. So then, is this better than the knowledge he gave before, or how do we compare? Actually, there's no comparison. What we learned in that section, that was a section on Bhakti Yoga. So there it was the knowledge more on the devotional service, right? And here, this is about the section is different, Jnana Yoga. And in this section, this is the supreme wisdom. So the best of knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained to supreme perfection. Actually, this picture which you see is nothing but King Nime. Nime is performing. Those days, the Vedic times, the rishis and the kings were to perform a lot of sacrifices and yajnas and with the brahmanas. And there were many sages used to come down and partake in these sacrifices. So in this, when King Nime was doing that, then 9 Yogendras came and partake, and he asked them again like these questions, like Parishit has asked, what is the thing? So what is the best for the people, and how do we come out of this Maya, and more about the devotional service. All these 9 Yogendras, they talked about it, and you can find that in the Bhagavatam in Canto 11, chapters 2 and 5. So, where all sages have attained to supreme position. So, whatever we read, whether it's in Bhagavatam or it will be of the same level. They don't contradict each other. So, it would be the same wisdom, same knowledge which they have been partaking. So, here Krishna says he's going to give us a supreme wisdom, knowing which we will attain supreme perfection. Okay. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature, which is like my own nature. That is, his nature is what? Satchitananda Vigraha, full of knowledge, Chitananda, full of bliss. So he says, eternal. thus established, one is not born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution. So we attain, we don't become the God. Like God, like His nature means we become pure. We will be detached from this body and we won't be caught in the birth and death cycle. We won't be born at the time of creation nor disturbed at the time of dissolution. So we attain this nature means we will also be come out of this clutches of this body. So that is what we mean there, such that we don't become His. And what is this knowledge? It is the knowledge which you are going to see. So understanding this chapter will help us to attain liberation and transcendental nature, knowing which all sages have also attained the supreme perfection. Mama yoni mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadami aham sambhava sarva bhutanam tato bhavati bharata. This total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living beings, O son of Bharata. So here clearly Krishna says, I mean, this is something, science which is never taught in anywhere else. Here Krishna himself is declaring, saying, this is a material, the whole material cosmic universe is of matter, right? It's not just the earth, I mean, all the other planets and everything in this cosmic universe. So he said there are so many 84 lakh species. That's what says in Padma Purana, right? How did these species come? First, they were all matter, and into that, the Lord impregnates with the living entities into wherever they have to go, they have to go and he impregnates them. Just like the mother, a woman doesn't get a child unless it's been impregnated by the husband, isn't it? Same way here, the mother, that's why we call this nature as the mother nature. So there, the Lord, through his glance, he impregnates with the living entities. That's how we come into this energy. This material world is nothing but energy, is energy, right? So we come into the influence of that by the Lord. So the Lord is the one who is impregnating the material substance. So we get a body because of the Lord. Because of the impregnation, we get that particular body in this material world. Okay. So it could be the body of a fish, or it could be the body of a bird, or any body, or the tree, or things, or a human body, or be the demigod, or anything. So the total material substance is called Brahman. See, the word Brahman depends upon the in which subject, into which context, in which context it's being used. So here, Mahad Brahman. So here, Krishna is talking it as a material substance is the source of birth, because it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living beings on a Bharat. Okay. So, Sarva Yonishu Kaunteya Murtaya Sambhavantiya Tasam Brahma Mahad Yoni Raham Bija Prata. It should be understood that all species of life, or son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature. I am the seed-giving father. So, he is the one who is the whole Brahmanda. It's not just the earth. The whole Brahmanda, the living entities are all being impregnated. They all send according to their karma, according to what they need. The Lord decides depending on their past karma. That's what we saw, the transmigration, right? So this is the Mahatattva, where the Lord, first the creation takes place through the pores of the thing. All these globes keep coming out. And into each of this globe, the Lord enters as Garbhodaksha Vishnu and energizes that. And then into that, you see the Lord Brahma, and is given the thing to create. And then into each of that living entity, Shirodakshana Vishnu enters and energizes that. So that's how this whole thing takes. And that's why by his glance, all the living entities who were there in his Garbha, they get manifested into this matter, this material. That's how they get their body. How the soul comes into the material world and placed within the body of material nature. is the mother supplying the living entity with the body. So once it's get impregnated by the seed, then they get that particular body. Puts them there by his potent glance and thus impregnates the material nature with the seed. Okay, so it's very clear here that that's how we got the body, right? How every living entity in this cosmic world gets that body. Then how it acts. So then once you have got the body, it's like, you're in particular energy field. You're in that energy field, you are influenced by that energy. So this energy has got three kinds. That is Sattva Guna, Rajas Guna, Tamas Guna. So as is shown in this picture, the three gunas are there. Yeah, so three ladies. And here there are two, just shown two people here who are tied by the ropes. Actually, Guna is also meaning has got ropes. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Guna, Prakriti, Sambhava, Nivadanti, Mahabaho, Dehe, Dehinam, Apyayi. So material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And when the living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Here, these two people whom we see here, one is like a boss, is telling the other one to dig the earth, and he's a servant. But one is thinking he's a boss, and the other one is thinking he's a servant, and he has got certain things to do. What they don't understand is that there is an invisible ropes, and where every part of their body is being controlled by somebody else, by an invisible rope. That is the three people here. This is the goodness, passion, and tamas. And above them, they are controlled by the Lord. So this whole Prakriti is energy. There are three kinds of energy, which is actually activating these parts of the body here. They don't know there has been like a puppet, when there is somebody else puppeteer doing it. So the material nature, so the characteristics of this material nature has got three characteristics, known as Sattva Guna, Rajas Guna, and Tamas Guna. So then we get conditioned by that. So actually when we are, as a soul, it's very pure and it is Satchitananda, it is full of bliss and knowledge and that. But once we come under this field of this energy, with this body which we have acquired, what happens? We will be controlled by that bodily nature, by the nature. So our mind, and so the soul will be working through the mind and through this body. So it is being controlled by the nature. So here there are three kinds of characteristics. And how the living entity is conditioned is control is eternal soul is transcendental. So when it comes into the material, it is considering three modes, passion and ignorance. Then it is forced to act according to this. So you might wonder how it is that, but actually if you see what is happening around the world, how the different entities, of course, the plants and animals, we can make it that they have their own law, which it is working according to that law. Whereas the human nature is a human body, people who have human bodies, each one is acting in a different way. No two human person is the same. They have the identical features or bodily features, or is it the mind they work, or how they act, or how they react. Their responses or their act, it's all different. No two people will be the same. That we can understand and we can see also. So how did it comes? So here, and you can characterize by these three modes, the major modes, right? Nature of the soul is transcendental, but once it comes, it works through them because you have this body, so you do the activities through the body. Tatra sattvam nirmalvat prakasham annamayam sukha sangena badnati jnana sangena chana. Now Krishna is continuing to explain each mode. O sinless one, the mode of goodness being purer than the others is illuminating, and it frees from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode develop knowledge, but they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. So what is the mode of goodness is? Illuminating means it is purer than the others. Why? It has got knowledge. It is born of the knowledge. And the people who have more of this nature, they have more knowledge. They have clarity in what they want, clarity in what their goal is, and also the clarity in their thinking. They are not, and they're able to take decisions and what is right, what is wrong. So, and as they learn, the knowledge develops into more knowledge. And so that way they are more peaceful and they're more happy. So they have that happiness in them, that they feel more happy and better than others. But only problem is they're conditioned by the concept of happiness. Because they think they're better than the others, they get a little bit of pride. They feel they're more comfortable. They are more well placed and intellectually as well as materially and all that. So they get into that concept of happiness and they get bound by that. Okay. That is the nature of people who are in the mode of goodness. So what is the people in Rajas Guna? The mode of Rajas or passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. So their other mode of goodness was knowledge. Okay. They had the clarity. These people, they are driven by their desires. They want to have more houses. They want to have a big bungalow. They want to have a beautiful life. They want this. They want children. They want to go places. And everything is material things. Their desires of material and they have a craving for that. And the craving is like, once the desire is finished, it's not enough. They want more. And it keeps on increasing, desire of the desire. Because of that, they are bound to that material things. They want material activities. So that is why they are bound to material fruitive activities. And we can find such people also around us. And they want more and more of it. They are not happy with just having 1 or 2 houses or 2 cars or 3. They want more and the best thing. And they are more result oriented and they are more material oriented. Okay. And they want to have more and more. So that is the thing, the effect they have. And they are bound to that. Whereas those people, they were happy. They are quite happy because they are mode of goodness. They are quite happy, but they are bound with that. They go into a comfort zone. And these people, they're always driven by desires and cravings. Tamas gun causes the delusion of all living entities. The result of this mode is madness, indolence, and sleep. What is that? They have ignorance. They don't have it. They don't have, they're very confused, they can't take decision easily. They'll always depend on others. Even if they don't have problems, they think there will be a problem. Even having no problem is also a problem for them. And they're always in a confused state and they can't take decisions. And even if the solution is there right in front of them, they won't be able to take it because they don't know how to do it. And what happens? They're inactive. So finally, they are like inactive in sleep. They more like to be lazy and like that. So tamasva ajnana tamjam vidhi. They are born of mode of ignorance. Okay. And they won't be able to take any action. They'll always be indifferent. Okay. Like indecisive. So that is it. So illuminating frees and they are free from all sinful reactions because they know this is the goodness condition. Becomes and why they're free from sinful action, they know what is right, what is wrong, and they will be more careful in there. So they have clarity in their thinking, they have the goal, and they're quite happy because once you're free from sinful actions, then they're happy. But how does it bind them? Because it binds them because that concept of sense of happiness thing itself, they get into a comfort zone of the knowledge. They are much better than the others, I think. So that binds them. And what is the example? They're like the scientists, philosophers, poets. And they are more or less, and why they're happy? Because they are free from sinful action. They know what is right, or they have clarity in their mind and think. But destiny is no likelihood of liberation because they are caught with that concept of happiness. And who are the representatives? Brahmana. I mean, that is in the class of the Brahmanical qualities. How the 3 types of communities live and act. So they are quite happy. Whereas in people in passion, they're always running around because they have some goal to they achieve, they have that things, and ignorance, they have a feeling of helplessness. So this is how first passion conditioning, that binds the living entities because of the desire and attachment. And this is how is considered, Prabhupada writes that advancement of modern civilization is considered in the mode of passion. Hankering for material enjoyment and sense gratification, he wants honor in the society, he wants a happy family with wife, house and children, construct a residence for sense gratification. He works hard for a palatial house as if it is eternal. That means he is there. He is bound by the fruits of. So that's why there's no chance of liberation when you have the passion conditioned by mode of passion. So ignorance conditioning, how do you think? It binds because madness, sleep, which bind the thing. Their characteristics is opposite of mode of goodness. They are confused. They cannot understand thing as it is. They are always different. How it is manifested by being lazy and they sleep more hours. Okay, always addicted to intoxicants. So no chance of liberation. So all the three modes, no chance. But among the three, Sattva Guna is more pure. So finally, Krishna says, mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions into fruit of actions, ignorance to madness. Okay, Kama Guna. Then, are we all the time being in the mode of goodness only, or the people are only in the mode of passion, or only in the mode of during the day you could be in any of the modes. It's not that you'll be only in that mode. So Krishna continues to say that sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness. And sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion, and other times the mode of ignorance defeats. So depending on the situations, depending on the what's happening around, you might be in any of the modes. Okay, you could be in the mode of goodness, or you could be in the mode of passion, or you could be in the ignorance. Okay, so that is something which all of us can understand. There will always be a supremacy. One tries to bring them. So if he wants, Prabhupada writes, the purpose he can develop by practice the mode of goodness and thus defeat the mode of ignorance and passion. Okay, so that's one thing which we always try to do. So if you understand our nature, if you reflect, if you introspect about yourself inside, how you have been behaving, what your activities and how they are born, then you can remember that you can understand in which mode you were in, whether you were in the mode of goodness, passion, and so you can slowly rise above that and try to be in the mode of goodness, because that's the only one which will make you happy and will be in knowledge will develop. Otherwise, you are always driven by desires and things, or you are driven by disappointment, indifferences. So manifestation and mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are eliminated by knowledge. Okay. So how you know you are in the mode of goodness is when you are happy, when you experience that, because you are very clear in your mind. That O chief of Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, symptoms of great attachment, uncontrollable desire, hankering, and intense envy develop. So these are the symptoms which can make out which mode are we in. Okay, whether are we in the mode of goodness or whether in the mode of passion or thing. So you have intense craving, and you are attached to that object. You think that if you don't have that, you cannot live at all. Your happiness lies in achieving that particular goal, that have that material object. Okay. O son of God, when there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia and darkness are manifested. So this is that's what happens when you get addicted to certain things, even to addicted to your mobile, addicted to online gaming and all that. No, you start getting into that addiction. Then you are going down and down into inertia. You don't want to look into the other, what's your goal in life. So now we looked at the symptoms, we looked at the characteristics and how they are born and what is the major thing which is driven in these three modes. And now he's going to talk about what happens at death to one predominated by a specific mode and what is the result of action. So where do they go? By one of a specific mode. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets. So that means if you are in the mode of goodness, you go to higher planets, to the demigods, or it could go to the, even to Brahma, of Brahma, or the sages. Okay? He attains because he is of sinful, sinful reactions is less, he has more of goodness. So he will have more of technical. But if he dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive actions. Because when he dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animals. So this is the destination when they are predominantly in that. It's not that the one will be 100% in that mode. No, it's a predominance. You could have a little bit of sattva guna, you could have a little bit of tamas, but if you have predominantly passion, then you are engaged. Okay. Karmana suprashta satvikam nirmalam phalam, rajastu phalam dukkam, ajnantamas. What is the fruits we get? By acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Because he gets knowledge. And once the effect of knowledge is to create more knowledge, then you'll get more and more deeper you go into it, you get more and more clarity. So you become more and more purified. Whereas works done in the mode of result in distress, because your desires are never fulfilled. Once desired, there'll be some more, and there'll be some more, and they're missing. So finally, you end up in distress because you still not got what you want. You're still having that craving. Whereas actions performed in the ignorance result in foolishness. Okay. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, the present human civilization is supposed grossly misled by the modes of passion and ignorance. You can see, there's a lot of competitions going on, saying that if you, and they are trying to create competitions among us, and it is dangerous age, and all nations should take care to provide the easiest process, Krishna consciousness, to save humanity from the greatest. You're not happy, in the other modes, passion and ignorance. You'll be happy only when you are in the mode of goodness. You'll be peaceful in the mode of goodness. You're satisfied. Whereas in the other modes, you're not. And what is happening is, civilization is grossly misled by the thinking that if you become very powerful, or if you have a very good house, then you are the best. That means that is the result. So this is what the thing that we are misled in this present age. Our education is like that. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, grief develops. And from the mode of ignorance, foolishness, madness, and illusion develops. Okay? Because people have no education and actual knowledge, they become irresponsible. To stop this irresponsibility, education for developing the mode of goodness of the people in general must be there. When they are actually educated in the mode of goodness, they will become sober in full knowledge of things as they are. Then people will be happy and prosperous. So that's what Prabhupada writes, that our education system, what is it lacking? That we don't have the actual knowledge. People should be developing the mode of goodness. Okay? Then people will be happy and prosperous. Even if the majority of people aren't happy, and even if a certain percentage of population develops Krishna consciousness and becomes situated mode of goodness, then there's a possibility of peace and prosperity all over the world. Otherwise, you'll never find the peace or prosperous. So there must be some people in the mode of goodness. Okay, this is purport. Prabhupada writes very nice. The purport is very nice. When you read it, it is quite how he points out our education system and how we should be try to, as far as possible, to be in the mode of goodness. At least then you can, only from the mode of goodness, like a launching pad. Only then from there you can rise about to the pure goodness. That is when you come to the knowledge that Vasudev Sarvamiti, that is, cause of all causes is the Lord. Only then you can turn towards the Lord. You can turn your consciousness towards the Lord. So that's So results of actions we saw, okay, helps the society develop mode of goodness. People can see things as they are, then can be happiness, peace, and things. Otherwise, passion only, greed develops, and always anchoring for sense gratification without any limits. That's why people are all fighting over each other, and they're always waging wars against each country. Whereas ignorance and develops illusion, madness, and no knowledge. They are irresponsible, cannot see things as they are, being distressed, take shelter of intoxication. So this is a result. So we looked at the results of the death. They go to higher planets, otherwise they go to the lower planets, and emotion is the fruit effect. Okay. And the results of action here, they are quite happy, peace and prosperous, whereas passion, they are very greedy and they're always in grave distress. These people, they're always irresponsible. So those thing in the gradually go upwards to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those of the mode of ignorance go down to hellish worlds. So then, how do you come out of this? When you see there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my thing. So you have to transcend this. Otherwise, you are still caught by these invisible chains. You think you don't have, but there is like a prison house. We are caught in this material energy because we have this material body. And this material body will work according to this nature. So if you realize, if you internalize, introspect, if you look at the symptoms, and then you can know how to come out of it. That means you have to get the knowledge. You have to be in the pure, in the goodness. Then you have to transcend that only by Krishna says, in chapter 7, that if you surrender to me, this modes of nature is my nature, is my energy. So it will be very powerful. So only by surrendering, then he will help you to come out of this ocean of birth and death cycle. So platform of real knowledge is what is the bottom of everything. That is, now we understand there is an invisible chain, ropes which is controlling. That is the modes, material activities. And Supreme Lord is transcendental to these modes and he is controlling. How can one transcend? By understanding this science properly, by learning from proper source. So if we understand this science, how we are caught, then we will like to get freedom. So this knowledge will help us to come. Who is a real spiritual master? Is Krishna. So you can't, when you are bound, your hands are bound, no one can, you can't free yourself. Only a person who is free can come and open this bondage. He can free you from this bondage, isn't it? Because his hands are free. Likewise, so when the embodied soul is able to transcend these modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distress, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So otherwise, we are having this bondage. We are not realizing it. Because we are not realizing it, we think this is the reality, this material is the reality. We forget that there is a spiritual world. There is something beyond. And once you understand that, then you start striving to get free. And now Arjuna asks, after explaining the whole nature, explaining the results, explaining how they are situated, what is the effect, and where they go, whether they get liberated or not. Now Arjuna wants to know, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these modes? What is his behavior? How does he transcend the modes of nature? So it's a natural thing. No, once you understand that this is how we are caught, this is how we are in this prison house, then we should know that one who is free, how he looks, what is this thing, how is his behavior, and how did he come out of the prison? So sometimes a one who is transcended, what is his behavior? How does he transcend? Blessed Lord said, he who does not hate elimination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they disappear. That means he is not bothered. He is a karma, that is not attached, nor is detached, and is illuminated because he knows that the knowledge. And no desire, and is seated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond these material reactions of the modes of nature. We affirm knowing that the modes alone are active, who regards alike pleasure and pain, looks on a clod or a stone, a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is wise and knows praise and blame to be the same, who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friend and foe alike, who has abandoned all fruitive undertakings. Such a man is said to have this sentence. So this is how his reaction. He is not bothered about the praise or blame. He's not bothered when somebody blames him or when not praising him, and is unchanged in honor and dishonor, and treats everyone alike. So that is a symptom. That means he is gone beyond and he is in the pure sattva guna, pure goodness. Okay, such is the reaction. One who engages in full devotion service, who does not fall down in any circumstances, at once transcends the modes of nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So Bhakti Yogana said. So only by devotional service can we come. What is the devotional service? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Shakyam, and Atmanived. At least if you start with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, then slowly if we take the path of devotional service, then slowly our anarthas will come down and then we can rise to the above the sattva guna. We can come to the pure sattva. At least be in the mode of goodness and slowly go rise up. Okay. So he says, only by engaging devotional service, you can transcend the modes of nature. So the third method of distress. How to transcend full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, advance the nature. Level of Brahman. Brahman is Satchitana. Okay, the example is our Prabhupada, and how he brought everybody into that mode of goodness and to rise to Krishna consciousness. Brahmano hi pratistam amrasavya cha sashvasya cha dharmasya suprash. I am a basis of the impersonal Brahman, the constitutional position of ultimate happiness and immortal, perishable, and eternal. So what is it? We go back to the Godhead. And what is that? Is eternal, and that is the position we'll get. Okay. So it's the safest position. It includes all the categories of Brahman realization. Okay. And when one understands this, we can actually transcendently bliss. There is exchange. So the realization of Brahma eternity is included in the Bhakti. So what is the summary? Living entity, although its nature, has the desire to lord it over material nature. Because we think this is the reality and this is what we want. So we think this is the happiness. So we want to enjoy. So that becomes our fault. So association with mode makes him desire to dominate the material world in different bodies. So devotional service, it helps us to transcend the position. His unlawful desire to control it is removed. That means your desires are getting purified. Your desire now turns to become, we need desire. Without desire, you cannot live because that's an energy to live, right? But your desire now turns to become, go back to the Godhead. So that once your desires are purified, then instead of trying to control the nature, you come out to that, you get detached. How do you do that? By practicing the 9 process of devotional service. Once you are situated in that, then you come equal in quality to you attain the Supreme Lord's nature, transcendental nature. So this is how discussion is very clear in this purport. You can all read it, it's very clear. It's a very simple chapter. So the 3 modes, we saw Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And there is a race for the prominence. No one will try to be, you will be sometime in the morning, you might be in the Sattva Guna, then in Rajas Guna, then in Tamas Guna. So there's always a promise. You have to understand your nature and try to come on. That means you have to keep your time. Your activities should be full. Otherwise, if you don't have any activities, then you'll start falling down. and try to be in the thing. So action in the modes we saw. Prabhupada says we should be more in the mode of goodness at least. Try to come out of the passion and ignorance. And what happens? What's the result? You'll be happy in the thing, whereas you'll be in grief if you're in the passion, because ultimately your desires won't be fulfilled. So you'll be in grief and distress. Whereas in the mode of ignorance, you will be in the laziness, you will be foolishness. Purification from the modes. And how do you cannot come out of that? Only by living in goodness, connect everything to the Lord, and engage in direct bhakti. Only by devotional service, we can strive to be in the goodness, come out of it. So lifestyle re-engineering. So we should look into our habits, because we are mostly caught into our bad habits. How we have caught into that, and how we're fluctuating modes, and how to transfer. So by a sadhana, proper sadhana, if you start keeping that, association devotees, books, scriptures, chanting, deity worship, engage in work, and eat prasad. This is the key practices. If you do a sadhana, ABCD problem, then you slowly can rise, come out of our bad habits. Simple living, I think. So you can reflect on this. This chapter is so simple. It looks very simple, but Krishna says, if you understand this science, then you will get liberated. You can. This is how the sages also got liberated, and you'll get to reach the stage of perfection. So this is the summary. Okay. Hare Krishna. Very simple chapter of hope. It was